Hey guys, welcome to my vlog. This week, I'm going to be discussing a bunch of different memories that are special to me in ways that I've interacted with different texts, whether it be actual, like for me, music, or actual just plain as day books. So let's get started. The first one that I want to talk about that was really memorable was during high school. And during high school, I was starting to get into music. I was starting to realize that this is what I wanted to do with my life. And as when we find what we're passionate about, we start listening and we start studying and we try to learn as much as we can as we're moving forward and growing. And one piece that I was listening to that I actually just stumbled upon because I was looking for another one was Irish Tune on a County Dairy by Percy Granger. And when I first listened to this piece, I just, for lack of a better term, I cried. And I listened to it, and it was on my playlist for a while. That one song that we just keep listening to and listening to and listening to, which for a lot of middle schoolers right now is Old Town Road, but that's none of my business. But as I was going through school and just learning more and more, I remembered that a while ago my band director told me that Percy Granger was a lover and advocate of English folk music. He actually would travel around the English foothills and record people singing and then transcribe them and write them down and compose them for band. And in that moment, when I remembered that, I realized that the piece that I really loved, Irish Tune, was more than likely composed based on a folk song. So as anyone does in the 21st century, I looked it up on Google, and I found out that Irish Tune from a County Dairy was actually based off of Oh Danny Boy, which is a really, really, really famous English folk song. And after I listened to the piece, and then I listened to a choir rendition of Danny Boy, again, I just cried. And it was really it was really cool for me because, this piece of music that I'd been listening to for nonstop for weeks on end, there was still something else that I didn't know about it. And learning this other aspect of it, of its origin, just made it that much more special and helped me to realize and still that constant curiosity that I have for everything that I listen to and everything that I study. Another memorable moment that I have with literacy actually happened today on my 22nd birthday. So right now I'm taking pre-1750 music history as a part of my music core requirements. And we're learning about the early church and the liturgy and the Gregorian chants and all of those things that you hear about that you don't necessarily listen to because, let's be honest, they all sound the same. But one of the things that the Catholic Church really focused on was text setting, which refers to taking a text such as a psalm or a prayer and setting it to music. And the Catholic Church, when they composed these chants, were very, very, don't you love it when words just leave your head? Were very intentional in how they set the text. Words like Dominus or Nobis or Pacem, all these words like God, salvation, all these very powerful, powerful words within the Christian faith were set at the top of a melody or on a metric stress. And as I was in church today, singing my praise and worship music as I do, I realized one of the songs that we were singing used text setting like the old church did, and putting very important words that they wanted to emphasize on heavy metric stresses, which, of course, maybe I should have been paying attention a little bit more, but it was still a really cool moment that I was able to take something as old as music practices from the 10th and the 11th century and apply it to my 22nd birthday in June 9th, 2019. Moving right along, going back and kind of switching gears and taking it less from a music perspective and putting it onto a more book-centered. My mom, bless her soul, she was really, really adamant on reading to me as a kid. And so I have so many fond memories of books that I couldn't necessarily read by myself, but I was able to be exposed to because we would spend that time together when I was younger, and she would just read to me. Two books that I remember, of course, Johnny Tremaine, which was about a blacksmith in colonial America, and then Eagle Regiment, which is about a soldier in Roman Roman times and stuff like that. We also, I think the last book we read was Treasure Island, which, I mean, what a way to go off, am I right? But just thinking back at all those moments and all those time, that memory that we shared together, and realizing that she took the time to make sure that I was being able to, even though I wasn't necessarily reading it myself, be exposed to these kinds of different texts and these different mediums, and be able to build my literacy, which would then, of course, bolster my education when I was older, and then also provide scaffolds that I would be able to get to where I am today in terms of my reading level, my comprehension, and honestly just overall my thirst for reading and my love of learning. Another, a little more like cool, like what a mile marker moment was when I was in 5th grade and I stumbled upon the Gregor the Overlander book. And that was it's you know, a good kid's book. It's 5, I think there's 5 in the series, pretty big text, about a fictional world and a boy that has a pretty gross life up top, but he actually travels down underneath the world, and there's a whole city and a whole world that goes underneath, and he becomes the protagonist, and how he just goes around in the city and does these different things. And I just remember the pride I felt after I finally picked up that 5th book and read it from cover to cover and said, hey, I finally did that. I read this book, these 5 pretty thick books. I mean, not like Harry Potter thick, but pretty thick, like maybe not 2 C's a QUE, but like 2 C's and like maybe a K thick. And just realizing, just basically saying to myself, hey, I did it. I can do this. I can, you know, take a big book, understand it, and finish it myself, which was very instrumental and very motivating as, you know, a little 5th grader back in the day. Another, teaching it back to my favorite topic, which is music, is honestly, in a more general sense, I'm constantly consuming music. Since I want to be a conductor, I'm constantly listening to big ensemble works. And one of the things that I just love is, even though I might have heard a piece like 20, 30 times, I'll still be able to find something new that I didn't hear before. Because there might be that one moment where I'm listening to that other line, or that one moment where I'm just, you know, something that jumps out at me, and having that little moment of, oh wow, I never heard that before, or oh well, that's really interesting, I wonder why it's there, or what's going on, and just being able to further my understanding of what I'm listening to, and being able just to continually just simply discover different aspects of something that I thought I was so familiar with is just really gratifying. And then to close it out on like a little bit of like an emo sense, because you know, we're RXD, I remember the first time this happened was when I was in 3rd grade. I was reading the first book of a series of unfortunate events. And little me sitting at St. Patrick Inter-Parish School in Miss Acosta's 3rd grade class, I finished the book, and your boy started sobbing. I honestly don't even remember why I was crying. I just remember that the end of the book, it hit home. It was really sad. It was really depressing. And it was just like a good kid, like the kind of cry you get when you're like watching a really sad movie. You just feel so good afterwards. I remember just like being able to connect with the text that much and being able to understand it was just, you know, it was one of the first times that ever happened. And then jumping forward, crying after reading East of Eden. Now, granted, I was emotionally exhausted because I had just taken the AP test, but still, taking a book again, that is like a thick book, like even thicker than Harry Potter. But being able to read that, understand it, and then connect with it emotionally was another great moment. Now, overall, these moments, a lot of them were the groundwork for who I am today. But overall, I really hope that I can help students be able to understand what they're reading, and they can hopefully have the same experiences that I have as when I'm learning as a student. So those are my memories from me interacting with different texts that I thought y'all would enjoy. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the little bell down below so you can get notified every time I have a new video. Catch you later.